Hello, welcome back to the OJ's channel. It's me, Jordan. People who know me personally know I love driving. I like having the opportunity, being able to go wherever I want, whenever I want. In my friend group, I'd say I'm like a chauffeur, driving everyone around, or they just come along with me. But me personally, and others would agree that I wouldn't say I'm the best driver. I've been in the usual, couple of accidents, rolling stop sign, hitting a cop car, it's stuff like that. And somehow I'm paying $660 a month for my car insurance. So I wanted to make a video telling you guys my exciting driving history and how I got to the point I am with my insurance. When I first started driving, it took me a while to get my license. It wasn't until I was 17 that my dad took me to get my permit, which I failed like 3 times, but you know what they say, third time's a charm. Finally, after passing that, my mom gave me her old '02 Camry, my first car, and she even let me drive it around with just my permit. I knew you couldn't drive with just your permit if no one in the car has a valid license. But me being 17, I didn't care, and I just thought, I'd be okay. Oh, I was so wrong. So one day I was meeting somebody at a pizza place, and when I was pulling out to leave, I reversed the car. I thought I had enough room for me to start turning my wheel, but I ended up hitting the parked car onto my right, and I tore off my bump. I was so shook because that was my first accident I've ever been in, and I don't have a license yet, so I just skirted off to my house. Now at the moment, I didn't know that doing a hit and run is considered illegal, but I went right back for my bumper because I knew my parents would kill me if they saw my car like that, and I was trying to fix it as much as I could before they were able to see what I did to it. I thought no one saw me, but when I came to go get my bumper, somebody stopped me and was like, yo, they got you on camera, don't think about running, man. So I was like, shit. So because of those events, as soon as I got my license, it was suspended for about 6 months. Now I said I own about 7 cars from the age of 17 to 22. I've had, and in order, a Toyota Camry, a Honda Civic, a Lincoln Navigator, a Mazda 6, a Toyota Corolla, a Honda Pilot, and the car that I have right now, a Toyota Avalon. Only 3 of them have actually been in accidents, and the others I just had mechanical problems. Started paying around $280 with the '02 Camry. It was under my aunt's insurance. One day I was leaving college. It was raining really badly. I needed new brakes. I didn't really know about cars that much, so I didn't know you had to change brakes like that. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid. My dad didn't even tell me at all. I know. Then also my tires were really dull. Like there was barely any traction. They were like already worn out, so I needed new tires. So I was already driving pretty dangerously. While I was driving home, a car in front of the car I was behind of broke really fast because they wanted to turn onto a street, and I slammed on the brakes. Now, as soon as I slammed, I just stopped before I hit the car in front of me, and then bam, someone in a Volkswagen hit me. That pushed my car towards the car that was already in front, and I damaged the car in front of me. So boom, I hit the car in front of me. I didn't avoid that. Now my fucking exhaust fell. I thought it was okay, but apparently that is enough damage for my car to be totaled. So, that wasn't really the highlight of my day that day. The Volkswagen that hit me was destroyed, I think because they're mainly made out of plastic nowadays. It was a newer version. Most of the cars I've owned were pretty old because that Camry was like a '02. So I heard they used better materials back in the day than they use now. So that's why my car looked like it barely even got hit. But the accident wasn't my fault, and their insurance were able to give me the money for my car. But the issue was, since it was an old car, I didn't get that much money. With the money I got, I think it was about $2,000 or $1,000 or like $1,500, something like that. I used that money to get my second car, which was an '03 Civic. Now, the '03 Civic was special when it came to the insurance because I didn't have it under my insurance. Have it under my aunt because she couldn't trust me anymore with, driving me around in a car with her insurance, me ruining her insurance, So, my dad gave me the idea, told me this little method about me insuring the car through Michigan and then, just doing it through my plates through Michigan. It come out cheaper. I had to pay about $1,600 or $1,400 every 6 months. So it wasn't a monthly payment, but it was a every 6-month payment. I'm not really familiar with the method. I think a lot of Hispanic people know this method, but it helped. And I didn't even pay it the second time. I just paid the first time, I'll be honest with you. I only had it for about a year until the car blew up because the engine started to leak oil, and I didn't really keep up with the maintenance like that. So the car, I didn't really have it that long. I only had it for about 8 months. I didn't really have any major traffic incidents with that for me to ruin my insurance. Then again, it wasn't under my name, so it couldn't be ruining my insurance. I only had a couple missing stop signs and like a few speeding tickets, nothing big. So after the car was no more, my uncle knew I needed a car to get to places where I needed to go. So he offered to sell me his '05 Lincoln Navigator. This big truck. It was about, I think, 8 seats, 7 seats, something like that. It's 2 rows. It was pretty big. I had some pretty memorable moments in that truck, I'm not gonna lie, but the reason why I couldn't keep it is because it was expensive. I literally had to pay about $150 a week just to pay for the gas. It was crazy. Now, I wasn't going that many places at the time. I was going to school, I was going to college, so I only went to college, and then at the job I worked at Wendy's. But even just going to those locations, maybe going out here and there, like to the clubs on Saturdays, it added up. And it became way more expensive to own the car. But luckily my uncle kept the insurance, so all I had to do was pay him the insurance that was on the car originally, which wasn't much. It was about $300, so it was okay. Since I couldn't have it for such a long time because it was too expensive, I ended up selling it back to him. Thankfully, he bought it back. Around the time, my friend Gabe was just going to the Marines. He was driving an '08 Mazda 6. His mom wanted to sell the car because she knew it was just going to sit there and probably like deplete in value, and she, wanted to see the car being used. So John and a friend of his offered the idea to sell me the car for about $300. I enjoyed the car, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty fun. Obviously for buying it for $300, it had a few issues, but after those issues were fixed, I think I spent about probably $1,000 or $900 on the car. So probably about $1,300 or $1,400 in total for the car, which is not bad still for '08 car, and didn't really last me a whole year. I only had it for about, I'd say, another 6 months, but that was the first time I had to pay for insurance myself. Now, when you're paying for insurance by yourself, it is more. You're a brand new customer in their insurance and they don't know how you are as a driver, so it is a little bit more. Now, with my driving history and with everything else, when I had the car, I had to pay about $330 to $340 a month on insurance. That might seem a lot to some people, but for me at that time, I was like, okay, it's doable. It's not the best, but it's doable. I'll do it with it. So this car, it kind of is the cooler looking car of the 7 I've owned. This one night I was driving from somebody's house. It was pretty late night. I was pretty tired, so I was trying to be as careful as possible, looking at my surroundings. And then this one night, as I was almost coming home, was looking in the rearview mirror, and I thought I saw a car following me that looked like a cop. So I was a bit worried. But when I brought my attention back onto the road, I saw a deer, and I skirt, and then I landed my car in a ditch. Yeah, that was not a nice night. That was not a good night. But thanks to my dad, he was able to fix it, and I was able to have the car for a couple more months until it finally gave out due to wiring issues. The car was old, so I knew the time had to come for it to, no more. So after junking that car, after it wasn't really turning on correctly, I ended up scouting out for a brand new car in my budget. I needed one as soon as possible, so I was able to snag this '05 Corolla. At the time, I thought it was okay. I needed a car ASAP to do what I had to do. I'll say this is my least favorite in the sense that it was small. It wasn't that really stylish. I did have issues with the brakings as well and some other stuff because the car didn't even last a whole year, I think. I was only paying about $370, $360 a month on my insurance. That's because from all the tickets I collected and like traffic violations I did with the Mazda, transferred over when I insured this new car. It only went up a little bit. My insurance started to go downhill because after this, I've been in 2 accidents with the Corolla. Both of them were including my brakes, but the one important one, which was an iconic one where I would never forget, was one time I was in the car with I was in the car with Josh and an old friend of ours called Jonathan. We were going to the junkyard to get a part for my car. As I'm getting closer to the location, there was a 4-way stop coming ahead. As I'm about to approach the stop sign, I see a cop car from the right of me at the stop sign already stopped, continue to roll, trying to make a turn onto the road I'm at. I couldn't really stop the car for some reason. I don't know if I had to do with the brakes, but I really tried to stop avoiding the cop car that is already turning. So I slammed the brakes. I slid right onto his fender. It was a canine unit. The dog was okay. The cop was really mad. He clearly smelled the weed out of my car. I always ride with bud in the car, and it always smells like bud in the car. I didn't smoke and drive that day. I smoked earlier in the morning, which was 4 hours ago. Right off the top, when the cop came out the car, he was mad. He was like, all right, give me everything you have, like bud related, blah, 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 blah. At the time, weed was just legalized. So I knew it was okay, but I didn't think like they were going to give it back to me. I just thought they were just going to keep it. So after they thought that I was under the influence, I was high, they decided to do DUI test on me. And luckily, because I practice the DUI test at home sometimes when I'm bored and I'm high, I was able to pass the test with flying colors, and they actually were pretty tight because they were like, damn, what we're gonna do now. So As they're debating what they're gonna do with me, they ended up telling me I passed, and they ended up just sending me a ticket for me missing the stop sign. At the end of it all, they gave me back everything I had. I had like 2 O's, I had a couple cards, I had some edibles, and I really thought all was gonna happen was they're gonna just take it and then not give it back to me. But thankfully, because it was just legalized and I was 21, they gave it back to me. So that was a plus. Yeah, it sucked to lose my car, but hey, at least I got on my butt, and I just went home and got really baked because of the whole fucking situation. I couldn't even imagine what my car insurance was gonna be after that happened. I knew that A, I needed to get a new car. B, if I was gonna get a new car, it wasn't gonna be cheap to insure the car. And C, I hope there's an insurance agency that will let me even have insurance because of my fucking record, and especially about this whole me hitting a cop thing. It doesn't look good in your driving history. Luckily, on Facebook Marketplace, I found a used Honda Pilot. It was an 06, and I got it for like $2,500, which is pretty okay. It looked nice, you know. I fell in love with the car. It was big. I wanted a big car for it to switch up. It sounded good. It ran smooth, so I actually liked the car. Now that car I only owned for a year. It's the longest car I own. And when it came to insuring the car, it was kind of a bitch because most places were telling me it was going to be 7 to 6 to 8 on an old Honda Pilot, which is crazy to me, but not really because of my record. But luckily I found this insurance agency that I think actually went out of business now because I had to change insurances, but Mercury was able to insure me. I had to pay about like $630, which was crazy to me on an old car, but I had to do what I had to do because I needed a car and you can't drive without insurance, so I had to go with that route. So with that car, actually a whole year with no accidents. My New Year's resolution was actually not to get into any accidents for a whole year in 2022. There were like a few hiccups, I'm not gonna lie. Like one time Justin kind of bumped somebody at a traffic light, and I did the same thing the day after, but nothing big, you know, nothing like hitting a cop car big. Car was the longest car I've owned, and I had like maybe here and there a couple problems. It wasn't until like the last couple months of me owning it started to fall apart, so I knew I needed a new car. Now the car that I have right now, car number 7, is my Toyota Avalon, and I've actually really loved the car because it's really like comfortable. The inside is nice and luxurious because the Toyota Avalon is kind of like the luxury car of Toyota. It's like one underneath Lexus. Probably the most expensive car I bought. I bought it for about $4,000, and I've bought it in November, and I've been having it for about 2 months. Literally my 4th day, I got into a fucking accident. I was at a stop sign. Somebody was coming basically the same way as the cop. Basically someone was turning onto the lane, but this time I actually stopped, but I guess I didn't look clear enough to my right that I went forward and I T-boned that car too. But my car actually came out fine. It looked like nothing happened. A little scratch. Their car was like a newer Honda Civic. Ooh, that side door was so bent in. I feel so bad. But as of recording this video, literally me like making the video, making the script, my Toyota Avalon actually overheated. So that was a great day for me. I was so worried. I was like, oh my god, I just bought this car, what am I gonna do? And I just paid my fucking insurance like literally 3 days before this happened. So it's like, what the fuck? I got to fix. It was just a water pump, so I have my car back now as of me finishing this video. Hopefully nothing else bad happens, and hopefully I already learned my lesson, so now I drive safer than I was before. When I hear people pay under $300 for their insurance, I be thinking they're so lucky. How much I would pay for my insurance if my insurance wasn't so high with my driving history. Driving is important in my everyday life, and it's how I make my money, and it's how I help my family. Sometimes I think to myself, I hate driving and I wish I didn't have to drive, but that isn't an option for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me a while to upload a video because I had no Wi-Fi for about 5 days. It was pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Not having Wi-Fi, pretty weird thing in 2022 when everything requires Wi-Fi. But I will be back with the regular upload, 2 videos a week. I am working on the second video that I think you guys will enjoy more. I can tell what you guys are more interested in when I make the videos, so I think you might have an idea of what I have next. But for the people that stayed to the end of the video, how to trip safely on acid. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys in the next.